Canada and Bermuda have been doing virtual ministry for a long time, whether it be a well-designed website, a social media ministry, recorded devotionals and services, or conference calls and live streaming. New technology and the digital space it creates allows us to reach more people right where they are. With the extra push of the pandemic, more and more core are considering live streaming to be an important part of their virtual ministry. More than 10 years ago, CBS Core, now one of the highest virtually attended ministries in the territory, began by live streaming their messages. We'll see a little bit more about that ministry in a few minutes. Now, we're going to visit 3 different core across the territory with 3 different approaches for making live streaming manageable and sustainable for their local ministry needs.
My name's John Pritchett, and I help take care of the audiovisual as well as different programming at Salvation Army St. John's Temple. We are a core in St. John's, Newfoundland. We're actually almost 130, well, a little over 130 years old. We have around 200 plus congregates on a Sunday. Pre-pandemic, we're a core with a lot of programming, and things were going well. Pandemic hit, and I would say a close-knit core all of a sudden found themselves far more isolated from each other in a very, very short time frame. So we knew that the solution in part was going to be virtual ministries. There was various ways that we could get in touch with each other, but how did we get together while we were apart? We knew virtual ministry was going to become a key to that.
My name is Lieutenant David Hipperson, and I'm from Georgina Community Church, and I am the pastor here. Because we have such an aging congregation, there are some that just can't come every Sunday. And so it made sense for them to continue to broadcast. And when they asked me whether we wanted to continue, when we started to open up more, I said, well, my understanding is because we have people at home that it makes sense to continue to do so.
For me, virtual ministry allows us to expand our reach beyond just these 4 walls. It's amazing to come here and worship with our congregation every week. And we have this great church family here, but it really is an amazing thing when you see somebody comment and say, I really needed to hear this today. Like, thank you for taking the time to broadcast this to us so that we could be a part of it. Like, you really never know who's scrolling through Facebook and just happens to tune in. It could be anybody. It could be somebody who's never stepped inside a church door, and they just, for some reason that day, could click on it and then hear the gospel and accept Jesus. So like, it really is different than someone having to walk through our doors, because that's a pretty big step. But scrolling through Facebook is something people do every day. So it's way, I guess, easier for somebody to hear the gospel that way. So so I think it's a huge opportunity for us, and if we use it the right way, then we can make a huge difference. So yeah, it's not something that we take lightly, and it's something that we definitely need to keep getting better at.
So we have our soundboard here. It's a digital soundboard. It's an Allen & Heath SQ7. Now here's the interesting thing. These boards, and you can get smaller versions of these, you can get other brands, but a digital board like the one we have here is about $7,000, $8,000. You can get them $3,000 and $4,000. That may suit your purposes depending on how many inputs you need. But what's great is years ago, and when I say years, only 10 years ago, a board like this would be $20,000 plus. And the prices have come down to make them far more affordable and far more usable. So it's just really understanding which size that you need in your core to suit your needs.
So this computer is just for our in-house screen and video and sort of stuff like that. So we just run Easy Worship on here. And so we put all of our songs on here. We put our scripture up here. We put videos for children's time, that kind of thing. And all of the sound is still run through our board, so it comes through our speakers and everything. So yeah, this is just for in here.
So here's our basic setup. Yes, we use an old cart, but it does the trick because we want it to be elevated much higher than this stand will allow us to. And the stand is a little bit wobbly, so I mean, really, we'd probably want to consider a better stand. But basically, we have just an iPad. I believe this is just an iPad 2.
We were just like streaming on my phone to Facebook, and that was our first experience. Jamie, our finance person, she was like doing the live streaming, and Margaret, our secretary, she was doing the easy worship. So we would all be here, kind of like, okay, let's try to figure this out together.
It was interesting because it wasn't just people from our own congregation we were seeing online. We were seeing other people that we didn't know, and we were getting to know through our online ministry. We also saw people that we hadn't seen in the building for a long time, all of a sudden participating in worship from home. And we had a meeting with the leadership team, and we said, is online ministry something that goes beyond COVID, or is online ministry just to get us through this time? And through prayerful consideration, we as a core decided that online ministry and being online and spreading the gospel online and being a light in a place that the church hasn't spent a lot of time pre-pandemic investing into bringing Christ to the people who choose to spend their time online. We said, this is an ongoing ministry for us. And once we made that decision, we decided we would figure out how to outfit our core and our building and train our team to be able to provide something that allows somebody at home to be able to participate in the worship service here at St. John's Temple.
Basically, with our operation, the way that we do things, the reason why we've chosen just to have an iPad is because that's the simplest way. It was the most viable financially, and it just made sense for us. And we're not trying to make some kind of, award-winning broadcast. All we're trying to do is make sure that we are getting the message out to our people who are not able to attend, and whoever else that chooses to watch. We're encouraged by that as well. But really, the iPad is just our way of being able to do the simplest method possible to get the message out there and to still have a decent quality and not worry about, all the bells and whistles that are involved with bigger cameras or, sound systems. I mean, yes, that would be lovely, but that's not our intent. Our intent is to just be able to share our message to our people that are absent and to keep it simple.
So here we have our station where we do our video switching. And this is just one person that can control this. And we have 3 cameras. So one person each Sunday who's trained on this sits here. And we're able to pan, tilt, and zoom our 3 cameras. And we're able to switch from one camera to the other on our live stream using Wirecast software. And that's just an easy program that runs on any laptop. And we have a little remote controller here. And we use PTZ optics cameras, which are a really affordable, good quality option that, again, you can get in several different configurations depending on what might be right for your core.
But we have our iPad and we go on to Meta Business on Facebook. And if you don't have the Meta Business Suite for your Facebook core page, it's actually a really good thing to have, because you can do a lot of posting, a lot of timing of posts, those kinds of things. But when we do it, then we just create a post. So we create a post, we make sure it's going to where we want to go. We also have an Instagram page and we also have a youth page. So it's going to our Facebook news feed. Then we're going to hit live video.
So with this computer, we use it so that we can run the lyrics to the songs on our live stream. So we've just taken all of the songs that we have in our other Easy Worship and we just reduced them to smaller text and to the lower third of the screen so that it doesn't take up the whole screen, obviously, and you can still see the picture. And we just broadcast it to our OBS program on this computer. And and it just will show up as soon as you switch to the different screen. It'll just show up here and people will be able to see it at home. So it's kind of cool.
So we installed the sound system, the new soundboard, and it was digital, fully digital, and involved a variety of kind of new concepts to us, like running a D snake instead of traditional snake. Figuring out how we were going to route the cables through to our platform, getting the stage box set up, etc. We had to learn that. We had to learn it in a weekend and be ready to go on a Sunday. And so, what we did? We did the best we could. And we were able to pull off the Sunday service. and we certainly had some hiccups. It wasn't the best sound that anybody's ever heard, but it was enough for us to be able to build from. We did the same thing when we got our cameras in. We said, okay, this Sunday we're not going to be able to do iPhones. We're going to have to go to our new pan tilt zoom cameras, and we installed them, and we learned how to operate them, and we learned how to operate the software, and we ran with our new pan tilt zoom cameras, and we did the best we could. And every week we got better, and we learned, and we trained new people, and they brought in new ideas. Because just because somebody's not technical doesn't mean once you train them on how to do things like operate your cameras, that they're not going to bring something phenomenal to the table where you're like, my gosh, that person has a really good eye, and this is an angle we never thought of before, and it's enhanced our ministry. And so it's been great to get new people involved as well, because everybody sees things differently, brings a different talent to the equation, and we've been able to build a team. So it started from doing it basic and doing the best you can, and then learning together, training each other, and over time we got a product that's much more consistent and I would say a much easier to produce situation than what we had at the beginning.
So we could tell that it was working like right away, because the first Sunday that we did that little live stream from our living room, people were so happy to just have some connection, being able to like worship together, even though we were all sort of in our own houses. Yeah, like people just felt relief, I think, and just some shared, strength in that time.
The feedback that I've been given from the congregants who watch, who can't make it in, they just really appreciate the ability to be able to watch from home. Obviously, sometimes it's glitchy because you're dealing with Wi-Fi in our setup. And so, when things happen, everybody's frustrated, but we work through it, and they just really appreciate the ability to be able to watch. And the sound, is never perfect, but it works very well, and they hear what they want to hear, what they need to hear. And yeah, I think they just really, really appreciate it. And from the things that they've said, they always mentioned, we're watching from home, and we're so blessed by what we see today.
So this is our soundboard. It's a digital board, which we got like only just a couple of years before the pandemic. So this is our board. We have our in-house mix sort of here, and then this is our broadcast mix here. So we just like click on the mix here, and then we can adjust everything over here for that. So the sound guy will usually have these on, and then he'll just be able to hear what's happening for the live stream if he plugs those in. So that's kind of how he does it. It's not always the easiest thing, being in the room and trying to hear what's happening on the live stream, but it works for us right now. We've got a pretty good mix going. So yeah, so that's our board.
But the important thing is we film this way, landscape mode, but you actually have to start your video in portrait mode. You have to start the setup in portrait mode. So now we're going to go to live video. Then we rotated it, because you can see these icons on the bottom. Watch what happens. Now they're on the bottom again of the screen, which means that is set properly. I just want to show you just quickly, if it's not correct, and you started like this from that page and you went live video, you'll see where the icons are. They're there, which means your video is going to be tilted. You see people that do that sometimes by accident. They don't realize, and then they can't figure it out. So you go back to portrait, live video, then rotate it. And now you're ready to hit play.
Good reminder for everybody as you look at 3 pieces of equipment here, an external monitor, a laptop, and a remote control, that when we started out, we only had the laptop switcher, and we had to control everything off the laptop. Then we were like, wouldn't it be great later on to add an external monitor? And we added our external monitor so we could see all our shots. And then very last, we got this dedicated remote control device, but we were able to do all of that just on the laptop. So when you're looking at thinking about how could I do this in my core, remember, you can build it up one piece of equipment at a time and eventually get where you want to go, but have something that's good enough for when you start.
Volunteers are so important to the operation, because they're the foundation of getting things done. I mean, as we know in the Salvation Army, we don't always have, unlimited resources in terms of finances. And so when you have a volunteer that steps up and wants to be part of it and just basically runs with it, it's just a blessing. And I think also volunteers is so important because it helps to foster belonging as well in community. Because they're encouraged to help out, they feel they're part of it. And so there's ownership there, there's belonging, and there's just an understanding of we're all part of this together.
The other interesting thing that we have as part of our team is we decided that it's not enough just to passively let the video stream out there and see people commenting saying, I'm here today, or God bless you, or different things like that without us reaching back out. So part of our team also includes, we call it the people who are doing on comments today, and they're going on YouTube and they're going on Facebook and they're direct messaging as well as replying on Facebook to people and reaching out and saying, I see you. And I'm glad you chose to be here with us today. And we appreciate you. And it's been really great to not just see people watching or reaching out to us. It's really important that we reach back, because online community is only a community if the communication is two ways. And so part of our team, and a really important part of our team every week, is the comments, because that person's ministering in a very active way online throughout all of our services.
A lot of our seniors, especially during the pandemic, weren't able to come. So it was a good way for us to connect with them and to make them feel less alone. So that was definitely a huge part of it. And even now, some of them still aren't able to come back. So for them to be able to watch us, I think is a big deal for them. So that's definitely been a triumph. Just connecting with people across the world. We had a guy come and play in our band who was an exchange student last year. So his parents were able to watch every week online so that they could see him and, different things like that. And they're still connected with us. So, working together as a team to do our best for God, obviously, and for people to be able to worship with us and, experience that. So
Essentially what happens is there's only one person here monitoring to make sure that it's staying on. And whether it's the speaker or the piano player, they just slowly rotate, and that's all we do. Maybe we position it on the band, we come back to the speaker. If there's another person maybe speaking right here, then we would position it like that. At the end of this, we would hit stop. After I hit record, there's an ability to stop, and then we'd publish to Facebook, and that is our whole thing. It's a public post. I guess the only other thing that I want to mention is that there is an ability to describe what people are watching. So we always put the date, and usually we put the title of the message for the sermon. And that's all we do.
So this is sort of our live streaming station here. We have our switcher, which allows us to plug both of our cameras into the mixer with an HDMI cord. And then we plug that into our computer, and then we're able to switch from one camera to another camera really easily. So all we have to do is basically just press a button and we're on a different camera. So that gets plugged into here, which goes to our live streaming computer, where we use OBS Studio to run our live stream. And we've also signed up with a streaming company called Restream. And so we pay them monthly, and they send our live stream to our Facebook page and our YouTube page and also our website. So yeah, so that makes everything really easy. We don't really have to do anything with it. It's all set up in here. We just press start streaming, and then everything kind of goes through for us. And this is our smaller camera that does our overhead shot, so you can see everything. This is kind of what it looks like here, but and also for the live streaming, the sound from this board goes into this audio interface. So what we do is we just plug two cables from the board into the back of this, and then we plug this into the computer, and it sends all of the signals from the board through this into the computer, and it all comes out on the other end mixed nicely. So it's great.
So this workstation, I think, is one of our most important, and it's Facebook and YouTube comments. So what we do here is we allow a volunteer to get feedback from the public, and they'll both be thanking participants as well as welcoming people to our service, acknowledging where they're telling us they're coming from in the world, because people tend to say, you know, watching from Sydney, Australia. And we are able to engage and then direct message people and make sure that we're actually witnessing beyond just what is happening in our service.
Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. What better way to do it than through virtual ministry? Who would have ever thought years ago that basically every church who wanted to get their message out to the hundreds of thousands of people out there would be able to do so in a relatively inexpensive way? From my point of view, I would never have thought that it would have ever happened to this degree. Back in the day, it was to try and get as many people into your sanctuary as possible, or maybe you did a church radio ministry program back there. But now with the virtual ministry, any church, the smallest congregation in the province or one of the largest congregations in the province, can have a major impact on so many people's lives that nobody probably would have even been ever able to grasp what type of positive impact it would have. At the end of the day, I would like to think that the main focus of any church is outreach. It's not the people in the four walls of this building on a Sunday morning for an hour and a half. It's what impact is that church having on the outside community. And through the virtual ministry of the church, so many people outside the four walls of this building can have an impact or can be impacted by the ministry that's happening inside this church. I think it's an amazing opportunity.
Don't let it overwhelm you at first. It can seem really overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be as big a production as what you think in your mind it has to be right away. And then it all kind of comes as you go. Like you just learn more things and you just take it step by step. And it'll all come together. However, even if you just keep using an iPhone, that's okay. Like, however you can connect people with your ministry unit, like that's really all that matters. So yeah, just like take it one step at a time, learn how to do each little thing, and don't let it overwhelm you.
Streaming itself, just like a Sunday service that you attend in person, it just can't end when the stream turns off. So it's how do we reach out to the people who have been involved with us? How do we bring those people into other events, into other groups, into other ways of connecting and fellowshipping than just online? It's how do we reach people with the mission, and the mission being, you know, beyond even the four walls of the building, to the mission of the Salvation Army and the mission of us as a corps to go out into our community and be the ray of light that we want. We take a lot of opportunity to communicate what we're doing and how people can be a part of that beyond the Sunday service, whether it's through reaching people through our announcements, through the videos that we show ahead of the service, talking about upcoming events and how people can get involved. And I think it's, you know, when the service is happening, we have an opportunity to communicate, and we have an opportunity to, in that communication, really build. And that's what it is that we're looking to do, is to obviously offer a worship experience on a Sunday, but also use it as an opportunity to communicate what happens next.
I think that the new reality of ministry is that if we want to connect to as many people as possible, this is the opportunity to do so. I think that we need to, I will be very frank, and we need to make sure to check our egos and understand that it's not, you know, the Jim and Tammy show, aging myself there. But it just gives an opportunity to get the message out. And I think this is our new reality going forward, is that if we want to try to build community, the community includes the virtual world as well.
Live streaming can be done successfully in various ways, but success will look different in each circumstance, as we've just seen. You don't have to live stream to do virtual ministry. However, sustainable virtual ministry will be part of healthy, growing churches who meet people where they are.